Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Reimagining Rebellion. Today's episode is titled, You Are Not Your Beliefs, But You Think You Are. The need to be right is the sign of a vulgar mind. Albert Camus. Here's a question worth sitting with before we go any further. When was the last time someone challenged something you believe, and your first instinct wasn't to defend it? Take a moment. Be honest. If you're like most people, the answer is rarely, maybe never. And not because you're closed-minded, but because something much more fundamental is happening. Your beliefs aren't just things you have. They're things you are. This is the move that happens so quietly, most people never catch it. At some point, probably early, probably before you had the vocabulary to notice, a belief you held stopped being an idea and became part of your identity. It moved from, I think this, to this thought is me. And once that happens, the rules change completely. Because now, challenging the belief isn't an intellectual exercise. It's a personal attack. It doesn't feel like you might be wrong about this. It feels like you might be wrong about yourself, which is a completely different thing. Richard Feynman, who spent his life turning rocks over to see what was underneath, used to say that the easiest person to fool is yourself. Not because you're gullible, but because you have the most to lose from being wrong. Think about that for a second. The smarter you are, the better you are at building a case for whatever you already believe. You're not seeking truth. You're seeking confirmation. And you're very, very good at it. Feynman called this the first principle of scientific thinking. You must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. He said it with a grin because it's also kind of funny. We are, all of us, walking around absolutely convinced we're seeing clearly, while looking through lenses we didn't choose, can't fully see, and rarely question. The uncomfortable truth about identity-belief fusion is this. When you are your beliefs, losing them feels like dying. Not metaphorically. Your nervous system genuinely cannot tell the difference between a threat to your physical safety and a threat to your sense of self. Both activate the same response. Both feel like danger. Which is why this work, the simple act of noticing, takes more courage than most people give it credit for. You're not just examining an idea. You're sitting with the possibility that part of what you've called yourself might be something you picked up somewhere and never put down. And that's not nothing. So we're not going to rush it. We're just going to notice again, one more time from a slightly different angle, because that's how this works. Not one dramatic revelation, just a slow, patient loosening. Until one day, something that felt like you starts to feel like yours. And the difference, when you feel it, is everything. Today's echo question: where in your life do you argue the hardest? And what does that tell you about what you're most afraid to lose? And here's the thought to leave you with. We are not certain. We are never certain. If we were, we could reach some conclusions, and we could at last, make others take us seriously. Albert Camus, from The Myth of Sisyphus.